China just revealed a groundbreaking piece of AI technology called DeepSeek that's sending shockwaves through the entire world.
Have you heard about DeepSeek? DeepSeek.
What does DeepSeek represent?
DeepSeek. Is DeepSeek safe to use?
It's cheaper, faster, and lighter than what ChatGPT uses, OpenAI. And with this launch, the AI arms race between China and the US has officially gone nuclear. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down what DeepSeek is and how it stacks up against ChatGPT, why the US is so worried, and what this means for the future and the global arms race between China and the United States. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only what DeepSeek is and how you can use it, but what you can expect for this rapidly changing AI landscape. By the way, I'm Mac and Cheesy. I built $1 million business, all while having a full-time job by automating my life. And now I'm the COO of an 8-figure tech startup, so I'm actively using these tools. I'm not just making videos. Now, what is DeepSeek and how does this directly stack up against OpenAI? DeepSeek is a tech company that recently released its AI model, DeepSeek-R1. The crazy part is it's cheaper and performs just as well as OpenAI, and they also made it open source. And when I say cheaper, it's not just a little bit cheaper. DeepSeek claims that it only cost them $5.6 million to train and build the model, and it costs 1/20th of the price to use in comparison to OpenAI. But how can that be possible? Let's take a look under the hood to see how these AI models work. DeepSeek uses a mixture of experts approach, or MOE. To simplify this, imagine you're looking for an answer and you have access to 4 experts to help you figure it out. And instead of asking all 4 of them at once, you can just ask one of them who's the most qualified for this specific question. This saves resources, but there's a catch. You have to make sure you're asking the right expert the right question. OpenAI uses a different approach. People believe that they use a dense model architecture, which is like having all 4 of those experts in the same room, and they all work together to answer a single question. Sounds great, right? But it's expensive. So that's one core difference, but another is how they learn and improve. OpenAI uses supervised fine tuning, and DeepSeek uses reinforcement learning. And what's the difference between these two? Well, imagine you're teaching a kid how to ride a bike. You could give them a detailed manual on how to ride a bike. This would be supervised fine tuning. This could work, but they'll likely learn better if they just try themselves, fall, get up, and keep trying. This is reinforcement learning, which is what DeepSeek uses. And there are pros and cons to both. For supervised fine-tuning, the pros are it's precise, it's controlled, and predictable. The cons are it's expensive. For reinforcement learning, it can be dynamic, adaptable, it can end up being cheaper, but it can be unstable and harder to predict. But how do we know that it performs just as well as OpenAI and that it's actually cheaper? Let's look at 6 core benchmarks. Across all 6, you'll see DeepSeek performs on par with all 6 of them. I'm not going to go into each benchmark, but pause this video if you want to see what these benchmarks are and how they're measured. And to visualize reinforcement learning, take a look at this graph. In the solid lines, you can see DeepSeek, and in the dotted, you can see OpenAI. This graph shows the impact that steps have on the model. And think of these steps as each time the model goes through a learning process or reinforced learning. And you'll notice that DeepSeek quickly gets up to par with OpenAI. And for the price, some people are speculating if it actually costs $5.6 million to make. And I'll touch on this in a bit when going through why things are becoming nuclear between US and China in this AI arms race. But there's no denying what they charge you to use their tools today. Their API is 1/20th of the price of OpenAI's. That is a fraction of the price, and any company, including mine, has to reconsider using ChatGPT when you have this type of price savings. But with all that, does it actually work as a customer? I suggest trying for yourself. They have a desktop version accessible through DeepSeek.com, which is entirely free, and there's an app on the App Store. And get this is one of the coolest things about it. It is entirely open sourced, which means you can download it and run it locally on your computer. And it's entirely different than OpenAI because that is a black box and you don't see what's going on there. And a big revelation on how DeepSeek does this is through a process called distillation. Normally, these models are very extensive to run and require a lot of processing power. But through distillation, they're able to make lighter weight models that can perform just as well. To visualize distillation, think of having a teacher. This teacher requires a lot of memory, a lot of processing power. The teacher then distills information and teaches a student, a smaller model, how to answer these questions. And as a consumer, you can now download the student model, which takes a lot less processing power, and you can run locally on your machine. I'll get into why this is actually the scariest thing about all of this. later in the video. But if you'd like to experiment with it, you can go to this URL on llama.com and you can download it there for free. In terms of features, DeepSeek is very similar to ChatGPT. You write in a prompt, it provides an answer, but there's one feature that I absolutely love, and that's called DeepThink. This gives you direct insight into how exactly the AI got to the answer. This is called chain of thought reasoning or reasoning transparency. Here you can see it in practice when I ask it, what's the answer to 2 + 2? And it explains step by step how it got to its final answer, 4. And as a user, this makes me a lot more confident with how it got there because I can see how it came to that conclusion. And this is a key feature for improving trust, transparency, and the usability of AI systems going forward. So you now understand what DeepSeek is, how it works, and how you can use it, which is critical to understand why the US is so worried. Until now, the US believed that they had a major advantage in the AI arms race, due in part by restricting China to NVIDIA's top-tier GPUs, which people thought were essential to training these AI models. And not only are trillions and trillions of dollars on the line here, but due to privacy concerns with funneling data into China, this is a point of national security. And with OpenAI and major tech entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg working in the AI space, the US thought we had a multi-year advantage on China. But now everything has changed. To compete in the AI race, there are 4 crucial things. You need these AI models, DeepSeek, OpenAI. You need hardware or GPUs. You need data centers to house those hardware. And you need energy to power the data centers. Before DeepSeek, the US positioned ourselves as a leader in this category, specifically by limiting China's access to advanced GPUs created by NVIDIA. And these advanced GPUs were considered essential for training these models. But by limiting DeepSeek's resources, founder Liang Wenfeng had to innovate and was forced to prove that they don't need fancy GPUs anymore. So on the GPU side, maybe we're not as far ahead as we thought. So what about energy? China is in the process of revamping its entire energy backbone. China has the world's largest nuclear reactor pipeline and will have hundreds of new nuclear reactors by 2030. And nuclear means cheap energy. And in the US, good luck getting any of these built. Ultimately, the cheaper the energy, the cheaper it is to run AI. And so you combine both of these factors, the release of DeepSeek, this serves as a moment for a wake-up call for the United States. Because in 1957, space dominance meant military and economic edge. And in 2025, AI dominance means military and economic superiority. And this isn't a small issue. The president seems to agree. But now, before we get all doom and gloomed and assume that China has won the race, there are a couple of things that we have to ask ourselves and look into. First, how much do we believe these claims? The $5.6 million claim that DeepSeek says it took to build the model, industry experts are very skeptical of. Here's a video of Alexander Wang, the founder of Scale AI, calling into question their claims that they can't accurately provide information due to import and export rules. And Elon Musk agrees, saying, obviously. And even if you look into the research paper, you can see at the bottom it clearly states, the aforementioned costs include only the official training of DeepSeek V3, excluding costs associated with prior research and ablation experiments on architectures, algorithms, or data. Okay, so that 5.6 million number doesn't give the full picture, so it probably costs more than that. And they may have more GPUs than we think. But does that matter? Even if it was more expensive to build, we're seeing people confirm that the cost savings of using the model are very real. And either way, it proves that China has talented engineers that can build out AI models just as good as OpenAI. And if they end up having more GPUs than we thought, you have to ask yourself, how did they get there? And do these trade limitations work in practice? So what is next? Well, DeepSeek's move to open source is a key step towards democratizing advanced AI models, making it more accessible and affordable to researchers, developers, and smaller organizations. But China and DeepSeek didn't open source it because they wanted to be nice. This is likely an attempt to do 2 things. 1, harm their competition who are trying to sell access to these AI models. And this isn't a new strategy. In fact, we saw Meta do it when they open sourced Llama. The idea is undercut your competition and you'll make money elsewhere. And number 2, get wider and more broad distribution globally. The quicker your model gets out there, the faster it learns, the more users it has, and the faster you can improve to gain a leg up on your competition, the United States. And both these points are true, sort of. This will force companies like ChatGPT to rethink their models. robots, especially as enterprise companies like mine make internal announcements how you can switch to this tool at DeepThink for massive cost savings. But for major tech companies in the US, this might actually help. Having cheaper, more accessible models for a lot of companies isn't a bad thing. Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, by having high quality models at a low cost, this allows for their customers to use these tools at a fraction of the price. Now, with all of this, there are two things that are certain. The US will have to rethink our assumption that we are in a clear lead in the AI arms race. This is not the case. And to beat China, the US will have to take it very seriously, which makes sense why President Trump announced a $500 billion fund to improve the AI infrastructure in the United States. And when rethinking these assumptions, the US tariffs and trade restrictions on China may not be working as well as we think. And this could lead to further escalation between both governments. And the second is the US will have to focus on producing cheap energy in the United States. Cheap energy is critical, and some of the best ways to do that are nuclear and renewable energy. And if you want to win, all roads lead to power. With all this, there is one thing I didn't mention that really scares me. DeepSeek's ability to condense the model through distillation so it can be downloaded locally without having too much processing power means that we are that much closer to humanoid robots. If you can run a model without any internet, this means you can set up a robot to function on its own without any control. And this is a clear step towards AGI, which I'm worried may be here sooner than we think. Now, the AI industry is moving quicker than you could ever imagine, and it's critical you stay informed and prepared. Let me know what you think of this video, and if you like this, you're gonna love this video. I'll see you on the next one. Let's get it.